Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Cheating Tales Lab. We're always glad to have you with us, and as always, we'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop a comment and let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. This one's a real roller coaster, and you won't want to miss a single twist. It's a story that'll make you question trust, loyalty, and just how far someone will go when their secrets start to catch up with them. Our story takes place in the heart of Chicago in 2024. The city's a sprawling mix of old brick buildings, shiny new skyscrapers, and the constant hum of life, always moving, always changing. But in a quieter corner of this bustling metropolis, there's a story unfolding that's going to change everything for someone who thought they had it all under control. Meet Jack Turner, a 35-year-old marketing executive at one of the city's top firms. Jack's got everything on paper: a solid career, a beautiful home, and a gorgeous wife, Rachel, who's as smart and ambitious as he is. Together, they make the perfect couple, the kind of couple that everyone admires. They're the kind of people who show up at charity galas, post perfect vacation pictures on social media, and have just about everything anyone could ask for. At least, that's what everyone sees on the outside. But beneath the glossy surface, things are starting to crack. Jack's been feeling it for months now. The tension, the late nights, the way Rachel's been more distant lately. He can't quite put his finger on it, but something's different. And no matter how much he tries to shake it off, a nagging feeling has settled in the pit of his stomach. Is it just his imagination, or is Rachel hiding something from him? And then it all starts to fall apart one Friday evening. Jack comes home from work to an empty house. Not completely empty. Rachel's purse is on the kitchen counter, and her car's parked in the driveway. But there's no sign of her. He checks his phone, no missed calls, no messages. Just a quiet, unsettling absence. He knows she's been busy at work. But this is different. Rachel's always been one to keep herself busy, but this feels like more. He starts pacing around the house, trying to shake off the feeling creeping up on him. And that's when he hears it. A faint sound coming from the basement. It's the sound of voices, muffled but unmistakable. Jack freezes. His heart races. The basement is supposed to be Rachel's art studio, a place where she spends her weekends working on her abstract paintings. But tonight it's something else. He makes his way down the stairs quietly, trying to steady his breath. As he gets closer to the basement door, he hears the voices more clearly. Laughter, then a soft murmur of conversation. It's not just Rachel's voice. There's another voice, one Jack doesn't recognize. And the closer he gets, the more his gut twists. Something's wrong. He doesn't know what he's expecting, but he opens the door anyway, and that's when he sees it. Rachel, sitting on a couch in the basement, her legs curled up beneath her. She's laughing at something the man beside her said. A man Jack doesn't recognize. He's tall, with a chiseled jaw and dark hair that's just a little too well-groomed for Jack's liking. And the way he's leaning in towards Rachel, it's not the kind of friendly closeness you'd expect between just friends. Jack's breath catches in his throat. He's not sure if he should say something, leave, or confront them. But before he can even make a decision, Rachel notices him standing in the doorway. Her smile falters for a second, but she recovers quickly. "Jack, you're home early," she says, her tone a little too casual. She stands up, smoothing down her blouse. "Yeah, I didn't know you were busy," Jack replies, his voice tight. He looks at the man beside her. The stranger doesn't offer an explanation. Instead, he just gives Jack a polite but dismissive nod, then looks back at Rachel. "This is Tim," Rachel says, her voice just a little too high-pitched. He's a colleague from work. We were just brainstorming some ideas for the upcoming campaign." Jack doesn't say anything right away. His mind is racing, trying to process the scene in front of him. Tim? A colleague? In the middle of their home, in Rachel's art studio at nearly 7:30 on a Friday night? Jack doesn't buy it. He doesn't want to jump to conclusions, but everything in his gut is telling him something's off. "Brainstorming, huh?" Jack says finally, his voice low. "At this hour?" Rachel's eyes flicker for just a moment. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's annoyance. Jack can't tell. But her next words are carefully measured. Yeah, well, you know how these projects go. Sometimes we need a little extra time to get things right. Jack's jaw tightens, but he forces a smile. Right? Of course. He turns and walks back upstairs without another word. His mind is racing now, 1,000 thoughts running through his head. Who is this guy, really? And why does Rachel feel the need to hide him from him? His stomach churns as he walks into their bedroom, pacing back and forth, trying to figure out what to do next. This doesn't feel right. Jack's mind races as he paces back and forth in their bedroom, trying to make sense of everything. The pieces don't fit. Rachel's behavior, the late nights, the strange man in their home. It all adds up to something, but what exactly? He keeps telling himself it's nothing, that he's just overthinking. But deep down, he knows something's off. He tries to shake it off, but the nagging feeling won't go away. Rachel finally comes upstairs after a while. Jack's still standing by the window, staring out into the city lights, trying to steady himself. He can feel her presence behind him before she speaks. Jack. Her voice is quiet, cautious. Are you okay? He turns to face her, forcing a smile. Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired, you know? She looks at him carefully, studying his face. Jack knows she's looking for any sign that he knows. He's aware of her games, the little ways she tries to keep control of the narrative. He's not buying it this time. I just didn't expect you to come home early. Tim was leaving anyway. She continues, her voice smooth, like she's trying to keep things light, but Jack can hear the underlying tension. You know how it gets with the deadlines at work. Yeah, sure, Jack replies, his voice flat. He doesn't believe it. But you're telling me he's just a colleague, and that's it? Rachel hesitates for a moment, and Jack doesn't miss the flicker of guilt in her eyes before she quickly regains her composure. He's a colleague, Jack. I told you that. There's nothing to worry about. Jack nods slowly, but inside, a storm is brewing. Her words don't match her actions. He can't shake the image of Rachel laughing with Tim, the way they were sitting so close. Their easy chemistry. Something's wrong. He's not sure if he can confront her just yet, but he knows that the trust he once had is starting to slip away. Over the next few days, Jack's paranoia grows. He's not sure what he's waiting for, but every little thing Rachel does makes him question her. The way she answers her phone when he's in the room, always too quickly, too defensively. The way she looks away when he asks her about her day. It's all building up, and he can feel the tension mounting. Jack's been in this kind of situation before. He's used to managing crises at work. He's an expert in handling pressure, solving problems before they become disasters. But this is different. This is personal, and it's eating away at him. One evening, after a particularly cold dinner, Jack can't take it anymore. He finally speaks up. Rachel, I need to ask you something. I need you to be honest with me. She looks up from her plate, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if she's already bracing for whatever he's about to say. Okay, she replies, her voice tight. Jack takes a deep breath, steadying himself. What's going on with you and Tim? Rachel's fork freezes mid-air. The color drains from her face, but she quickly masks it with a forced smile. Jack, I told you he's just a colleague. There's nothing else. Why do you keep bringing him up? Jack's gaze hardens. Because I don't believe you. I saw the way you two were acting the other night. Don't try to deny it. I'm not stupid, Rachel. Something's happening, and I need to know what it is. The silence in the room is suffocating. Rachel sets her fork down slowly, her hands trembling ever so slightly. She exhales sharply, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. You're overreacting. It's really not that big of a deal. But Jack's not buying it. He's had enough of the half-truths, the evasions. I don't think it's nothing. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm not just going to sit here and pretend everything's fine. Rachel looks down, her eyes darting around the room. Jack watches her carefully, waiting for any sign of truth, any crack in her facade. Jack, she begins, but she cuts herself off. She looks up at him with wide eyes, almost like she's trying to decide if she should say more. I'm not cheating on you, Jack, she finally says, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not like that. Jack freezes, his heart pounding. His gut instinct tells him she's lying. But then again, there's something in the way she said it that makes him pause. Is she telling the truth? Or is she just getting better at hiding things? Before he can say anything, Rachel stands up abruptly. I can't do this right now, Jack. I really can't. She walks out of the room, leaving Jack standing there, feeling more lost than ever. The days following their conversation are tense. Jack's mind is consumed with questions about Rachel, about Tim, and about their relationship. He tries to focus on work, but it's impossible to concentrate. Every time he looks at Rachel, his mind races with doubt. She's acting distant, colder than usual, and it's like she's trying to hide something. But what? One morning, he finds himself in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone. It's 8 a.m., and Rachel's running late for work. Again. She's always been busy, but this feels different. She's been leaving earlier, staying later, and it's like she's trying to escape something, or someone. Jack's about to put his phone down when a message pops up, a notification from his email. He almost ignores it, but the subject line catches his attention. Suspicious activity on your credit card. His heart skips a beat as he opens the email. It's a report from his bank showing several unauthorized charges, ones that Jack doesn't recognize. The first charge is for a dinner at a high-end restaurant, 2 people, paid for with his credit card. The next is a shopping spree, hundreds of dollars spent at a boutique. Jack's stomach drops. This is starting to feel all too real. The name on the receipt for the restaurant? Tim's. The same Tim Rachel's been hanging out with. Jack's hands start to shake as he scrolls through more details. He knows he can't ignore this. His instincts were right. Something is happening, and it's bigger than he thought. At that moment, Rachel walks into the kitchen, dressed for work. She doesn't notice Jack standing there, staring at the screen of his phone, his face pale. But then her eyes flick to the screen, and she freezes. The blood drains from her face as she realizes what Jack's looking at. Jack, I can explain, she starts, but the words sound hollow. Jack sets his phone down with a thud. Explain? How do you explain this, Rachel? His voice is tight with anger now. I don't even know who you are anymore. First, it's Tim. Then, I find out you're charging things to my account. What else are you hiding? Rachel opens her mouth to say something, but no words come out. She's caught. Jack can see it in her eyes, the guilt, the fear, but she still tries to play it off. Jack, please, she says, her voice breaking. It's not what you think. But Jack isn't listening anymore. The damage is done. He's been lied to for too long. And now, the truth is starting to unravel in front of him. He can't look at her the same way again. He steps back, shaking his head. I can't do this anymore, Rachel. I need some space. You need to figure out what you're doing. Rachel stands there, speechless, as Jack turns and walks out of the room. He grabs his jacket and heads for the door, his heart pounding in his chest. His world is falling apart, but he can't stop it now. Too much has been revealed. Too many lies. Jack doesn't come back that night. He doesn't even send a message. Rachel spends hours in their empty house, pacing, trying to convince herself that it'll all blow over. She'll explain things to him later, somehow fix everything. But deep down, she knows that something has shifted. Jack isn't the same man anymore. The trust between them has been shattered, and no amount of talking will repair it. The next morning, Jack doesn't call. He doesn't show up for breakfast. Instead, Rachel finds a note on the kitchen counter. It's short, cold. I'll be staying at a hotel for the next few days. We need to figure this out.
No signature.
No more words. Just the finality of it hanging in the air. Rachel feels a wave of panic rising in her chest. This wasn't supposed to happen. She had it all planned out, her relationship with Tim, the dinners, the little secrets. It wasn't supposed to unravel like this. She picks up her phone, staring at it for a long moment before dialing Tim's number. Hey, it's Rachel. We need to talk. Tim answers almost immediately, his voice warm and soothing as always. I know, babe. I'm sorry, But I think we should keep things a little quiet for now. Let everything cool down. Rachel knows he's right. She knows she should have been more careful, but she was caught up in the excitement, in the lies, in the world she was building. And now it's all crashing down. But what she doesn't realize is that the walls aren't just closing in on her. Jack's world is crumbling too. Jack spends the next couple of days holed up in a small, nondescript hotel room in downtown Chicago. It's a far cry from the penthouse apartment he shares with Rachel, but at least here, he's alone. And in a strange way, the solitude is comforting. He doesn't have to look at her face, at the lies. He doesn't have to pretend that everything's fine. But the truth keeps clawing at him. The credit card charges, Tim's presence in their home, the way Rachel acted. Everything's falling into place, and Jack can't ignore it anymore. His mind won't let him rest, racing through every detail of their marriage, trying to make sense of it all. Rachel calls him a few times, but he ignores the calls. She's too good at spinning things, too good at making him doubt himself. He's not giving her that chance. Not now. But then he gets a call that changes everything. It's from his best friend, Ethan. The one person he's always been able to count on. Ethan's voice is tight, more serious than Jack's ever heard it. Jack, I don't know how to tell you this, man, but you need to listen. Jack sits up straighter, his heart pounding in his chest. What is it, Ethan? I think Rachel's been hiding something else from you. It's not just Tim. There's more. Jack's gut twists. What do you mean? Just trust me on this, Jack. I've been keeping an eye on things. Trying to help out. I wasn't sure how to bring it up, but I think you need to know. Rachel's been talking to someone else. Someone connected to your credit card charges. I can't give you all the details right now, but it's not just a casual affair. There's money involved. Jack feels the blood drain from his face. Money? What are you talking about? I've been doing some digging, man. Rachel's been using your accounts to cover up more than just a fling. I think she's been laundering money. I think she's involved in something bigger than you realize. Jack's mind races, 100 questions swirling around his head. You need to show me everything, Ethan. Right now. Later that day, Ethan shows up at the hotel with a pile of documents in hand. They sit down in the small, dimly lit room as Jack scans through the papers. It's a mess of transactions, fake invoices, and unusual charges. Each one more damning than the last. And then Jack sees something that makes his stomach drop. It's an invoice from one of Tim's companies, a shell corporation. The same one that Rachel had been using to funnel money from Jack's accounts. But this is different. The amounts are bigger. And it's not just one invoice. There are dozens of them stretching back months. Jack's heart races as he flips through the pages. His mind is reeling. It wasn't just a fling. Rachel wasn't just cheating on him. She was part of a money laundering scheme. A scheme that involved him, possibly even people from her work, and now Jack is knee-deep in it too. How long have you known about this? Jack asks, his voice shaking. I only found out a few days ago. Ethan admits, his face grim. I didn't want to tell you until I was sure. But this is bad, Jack. Really bad. Jack slams his fist down on the table. I need to confront her. Right now. That night, Jack goes back home. The tension between him and Rachel is palpable. He doesn't know what to say or how to say it. But he knows it's time. There's no more running. No more pretending. He's going to confront her, and everything is going to change. He walks through the front door, and Rachel is sitting at the kitchen counter, nervously flipping through papers. When she sees him, her face pales, and she stands up quickly. Jack, please, let's just talk. We can work this out, she says, her voice pleading. But Jack doesn't want to hear it anymore. He walks up to her, papers in hand, and slams the pile down in front of her. Explain this, Rachel, he says, his voice low but steady. What's all this? The money, the accounts, the fake companies? What have you been doing? Rachel's face falls, and for the first time, Jack sees fear in her eyes. She opens her mouth, but no words come out. The silence between them is suffocating. I knew something wasn't right, Jack continues, his voice shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined. Rachel steps back, her hands raised in a defensive gesture. Jack, you don't understand. I wasn't trying to hurt you. It just got out of hand. You're involved in something much bigger than you let on. Jack interrupts, his voice sharp. And I don't even know who you are anymore. He takes a deep breath, trying to steady himself. I'm done, Rachel. I can't do this anymore. You've lied to me for months, and now you've dragged me into this mess. Rachel's eyes fill with tears, but Jack can't bring himself to feel sympathy. He's been betrayed too many times. Too many lies, too many secrets. It's over. Jack's words hang heavy in the air as he stands in the living room, watching Rachel's face crumble. The silence between them is unbearable. For the first time in their entire relationship, Jack feels completely detached, like he's no longer a part of the world Rachel's been hiding behind all this time. Rachel stumbles back a few steps, her eyes wide with panic. Jack, please, I didn't mean for this to happen. You have to believe me.
I'm sorry.
Jack shakes his head, almost in disbelief.
Sorry?
Is that what this is all about? You think a sorry is going to fix everything? The words taste bitter in his mouth. How could she think that a simple apology would erase months of deceit? How could she think that he wouldn't find out about the money, the lies, and the web she had so carefully spun around him? I thought I could handle it. Rachel continues, tears streaming down her face. I thought I could keep it all under control, but it all just spiraled out of my hands. Jack's chest tightens as he listens to her. The anger that was once just simmering under the surface now rises to the forefront. You thought you could keep it under control? You were using me, Rachel. You were using my trust and my money to hide whatever this is with Tim. What is it? Was it just about the money? Was it just about having someone who could give you what I couldn't? Rachel looks at him, desperate. She shakes her head. No, Jack, it wasn't like that. I was just lost. I didn't know how to fix things, and Tim made me feel alive again. Jack's hands clench into fists at his sides. The truth is finally spilling out, but it doesn't make the pain any less real. He's heard enough. You don't get it, Rachel. It's not just about Tim. It's not just about some affair. It's about everything. Everything you've been hiding from me, and you've pulled me into it. For a moment, Rachel just stands there, her eyes filled with regret. Jack can see it, she knows it's too late. She knows the damage she's done. But it doesn't matter anymore. Too much has been exposed, and Jack's had enough. He can't fix this. There's no going back to what they had before. Not now. Jack pulls his phone from his pocket, his finger hovering over the screen. He's done with the lies. He can't stay in this toxic mess anymore. The only thing left to do is cut ties, once and for all. I'm filing for divorce, Rachel, Jack says, his voice calm but firm. I've already spoken to a lawyer. There's nothing you can say that will change this. You had your chance. Rachel's face crumples as if she's been physically struck. She opens her mouth to say something, anything, but the words don't come. She knows it's over, and there's nothing left for her to fight with. Please, Jack, don't. We can work through this. We can fix it, she pleads, but her voice is shaky, filled with the realization that she's lost him. The moment she crossed that line with Tim and the money, everything changed. No, Rachel, Jack says, shaking his head. It's too late. He turns and walks away, leaving her standing there, the weight of the truth crashing down on her. As Jack leaves the house, he feels an odd sense of finality. It's like a chapter of his life has just been closed, and no matter how much it hurts, he knows he's done the right thing. It's time to move on. Days pass in a blur. Jack spends his time in the hotel, sorting through his life, trying to figure out what comes next. He's been through the worst of it. Now all that's left is to figure out how to rebuild. The emotional toll is real, but Jack's a man who's built his life from scratch before. He knows how to take the pieces and put them back together. But even as he tries to focus on his future, Rachel isn't done yet. She's fighting back. She's got connections, and she's not about to go down without a fight. Jack's lawyer contacts him with a message that makes his blood run cold. Rachel's found a way to challenge the divorce agreement. She's accusing Jack of financial mismanagement, claiming he knew about the money laundering scheme all along and that he turned a blind eye to it. It's a strategic move, meant to paint Jack as complicit in the mess Rachel created. The stakes just got higher. Rachel isn't going to let him go without a fight. And the fight, Jack realizes, is about to get a whole lot messier. One morning, Jack receives a call from his lawyer, Maggie, a sharp, no-nonsense woman who's always been on his side. She tells him that Rachel's been digging deeper, trying to find any way to discredit him. She's going after his reputation now, pulling in people from his work, trying to turn them against him. They're trying to make you the villain, Jack, Maggie says, her voice low but determined. You need to stay calm. We'll handle it, but you have to keep your head straight. Don't let them get to you. Jack's fists tighten at his sides. It's not just the betrayal that hurts. It's the way Rachel is now turning the tables. She's trying to manipulate the situation to her advantage, and it's working. People are starting to question his involvement in the whole mess. His colleagues at work, his friends. Everyone's starting to wonder whether Jack was really as innocent as he claimed. Jack feels the pressure building, the walls closing in. He's been backed into a corner, and now it's time to strike back. But how? In the midst of all this, Jack starts to uncover something that changes everything. Ethan, his best friend, comes to him with new information. Something he stumbled upon while continuing to investigate Rachel's actions. It's a trail of evidence that leads back to Tim, and it's far worse than anything Jack imagined. Jack, I think I found something, Ethan says over the phone, his voice full of urgency. This isn't just about money. There's something bigger going on here, something Tim's been involved in for years, and I think Rachel knew all about it. Jack feels a jolt of adrenaline rush through him. He's been piecing this puzzle together for days, but this is the final clue. If Ethan's right, if Tim has been involved in something illegal, then Rachel's not just a cheater. She's been playing him all along, and using him as a pawn in a much larger game. Are you sure? Jack asks, his heart pounding. I'm sure, Ethan replies. I'm going to send you everything I've got. You need to see this for yourself. Jack's hands are shaking as he reads the documents Ethan sends over. There it is, proof that Tim's company has been involved in fraudulent activities, with a series of shady dealings that go back years. And Rachel? She's been a part of it all along. Every stolen dollar, every fake invoice, it's all connected. Rachel didn't just have an affair. She was in this with Tim from the very beginning. This changes everything. Now, with the evidence in hand, Jack has the leverage he needs. He calls Rachel. This time, it's not a conversation. It's a confrontation. Rachel, I've got it all, Jack says, his voice ice cold. I've got the proof. The money, the companies, Tim's involvement. You've been lying to me the whole time. Rachel stammers, struggling to keep control. Jack, I didn't want you to know about that. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I was just trying to fix things. Fix things? Jack repeats, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. You've been using me, Rachel, and I'm done. I'm not the fool you think I am. As Jack hangs up the phone with Rachel, a deep, unsettling silence fills the room. He feels a strange combination of satisfaction and dread. The weight of the evidence he's gathered, Tim's fraudulent business dealings, Rachel's involvement, and the money laundering scheme, feels like it's crushing him. But at the same time, it's the weapon he needs to end this chapter of his life. He can finally walk away knowing he's got the upper hand. But even with the evidence in his hands, Jack can't shake the feeling that things are far from over. Rachel's reaction wasn't the one he expected. She didn't beg. She didn't fight back. There was fear, sure, but there was also a certain resignation. As if she knew the walls were closing in, and there was no way out anymore. Jack feels the need to confront her face to face. Not just to end things, but to truly understand what's been going on. Why did she do it? What was it all for? The next day, Jack heads back to their house. It's a small, insignificant thing now. A place full of broken memories and empty promises. He steps inside, expecting to find Rachel waiting, but instead, it's eerily quiet. His eyes scan the room, and then he sees it. A note on the kitchen counter. His heart sinks as he reads the words. I've taken everything. You'll never find me again. The words hit like a punch to the gut. It's like Rachel has vanished from his life completely. Jack doesn't even know where to begin looking for her. She's taken all her things, her clothes, her jewelry, even the art she was so proud of. The house, once filled with her presence, feels like a ghost town now. Jack stands there, holding the note, his thoughts racing. Did she really leave? Is she truly gone? Or is this some final desperate attempt to manipulate him? His mind begins to spiral. Was this all part of her plan? Was she ever really trying to save their marriage? Or had she been planning her escape all along? As he stares at the note, his phone rings. It's his lawyer, Maggie. "Jack, we need to talk," Maggie says, her voice tense. "I've just received some disturbing news. Rachel's attorney is filing a restraining order against you. She's claiming that you've been threatening her and making her feel unsafe. This could turn ugly." Jack's stomach drops. This is the last thing he needs right now. The last thing he ever expected from Rachel. He never threatened her, never laid a finger on her. But now, in the eyes of the law, it's her word against his. And she's got a lawyer who's clearly ready to paint him as the villain. "I need to know what to do next, Maggie," Jack says, his voice strained. "I can't let her do this. Not after everything she's done." "I know," Maggie says. "We'll fight this, but it's going to take time. You need to be careful. Rachel's not going to back down easily. She's got a lot more resources than you think." Jack takes a deep breath, trying to steady himself. The tension has been building for weeks now, and it's finally boiling over. He's caught in a storm that he never saw coming, and there's no telling where it'll take him. The next few days feel like a blur. Jack spends every waking hour trying to piece together what's left of his life. But the uncertainty of Rachel's sudden disappearance and her claims against him hangs over him like a cloud. He keeps waiting for her to show up, to call, to explain herself. But nothing happens. Rachel is silent, and that silence only deepens the chasm between them. It's late one evening when Jack finally gets the call he's been waiting for. One that might give him the answers he's been searching for. It's Ethan again, his voice low and urgent. "Jack, you won't believe this, but I think I found Rachel," Ethan says. "I did some digging, and I think I know where she is. She's in California, staying at a place I think Tim's connected to. But there's more. She's been transferring large amounts of money from your accounts to an offshore bank." Jack's heart races as the realization sets in. Rachel's not just gone. She's still playing him, using him. She's moved on, but she's taken everything with her. And she's been siphoning off money the entire time. Everything Jack's worked for, everything he's built, is being stolen from under his nose. "I'm going there," Jack says, his voice firm with resolve. "I'm going to find her. And this time it's over." Ethan warns him to be careful, but Jack doesn't listen. He can't. The finality of Rachel's betrayal, the way she's ripped apart his life without a second thought. It's too much. He has to go after her, take back what's his, and end this once and for all. Jack arrives in California late that night, tired but determined. He doesn't know what to expect, but he's ready for whatever he finds. He follows Ethan's directions, driving to a secluded area near the beach where Tim's company has a property. The air is thick with the salty scent of the ocean, and the silence feels ominous as he pulls up to the large house that sits just beyond the cliffs. He takes a deep breath before stepping out of the car. His footsteps echo in the stillness of the night as he walks up to the door. His hand shakes as he reaches for the doorbell, the weight of everything he's been through pressing down on him. The door opens, and there she is, Rachel. She looks different, haggard like she's been through hell. Her eyes are red, as though she's been crying, but the defiance is still there. She looks at Jack with a mixture of guilt and anger. "What do you want, Jack?" she asks, her voice cold. "I want the truth," Jack replies, his voice steady. "And I want what's mine." Rachel shakes her head, tears welling in her eyes. "You don't get it, Jack. I never meant for it to get this far. I couldn't handle it anymore. You were never there for me. You didn't see me. Tim made me feel alive again. And now I've lost everything, including you." Jack's heart aches as he watches her crumble. This wasn't just about the money. This wasn't just about Tim. It was about Rachel feeling invisible, unappreciated. But none of that excuses the choices she made. She could have walked away, but she didn't. She chose to burn everything to the ground. You still don't get it, do you? Jack says, his voice cold with finality. You've already lost me, and now you're going to lose everything else too. Rachel stares at him, her face pale. What are you going to do, Jack? You've got the evidence. You've got the law on your side. I can't stop you. No, Jack says. But you're not going to get away with it. Not this time. As he turns to leave, Rachel calls out to him one last time, her voice trembling. Jack, please. I didn't mean for any of this. But Jack doesn't look back. He's done. He's said his piece. And now, it's time for Rachel to face the consequences of her actions. As Jack walks away from the house, leaving Rachel behind, a sense of finality washes over him. He can feel the weight of everything he's been through, the lies, the betrayal, the endless unraveling of his life. All of it has led to this moment. And even though he knows the storm is far from over, he also knows that Rachel's escape is not the end. It's just the beginning of the final reckoning. He returns to the hotel room, his mind still reeling from the confrontation. He can't stop thinking about Rachel, about the woman he once knew, the woman he thought he loved. How did it all go so wrong? Was there ever a chance for them? Or was he always just part of the game? Never really a partner, just another pawn in Rachel's carefully constructed world? His phone buzzes, snapping him out of his thoughts. It's a message from Maggie, his lawyer. Jack, I've got bad news. Rachel's filed for a restraining order against you. Serious. You need to be ready for her to go public with her accusations. We'll fight this, but it's going to be ugly. She's claiming that you've been stalking her, harassing her. She's trying to make it look like you're the aggressor. Jack's blood runs cold. The last thing he needs right now is for Rachel to drag him through the mud. His reputation, his career, everything he's worked for, could be destroyed if this gets out. Rachel is playing dirty, and she's not going down without a fight. The stakes are higher than ever. Jack slams the phone down onto the bed, feeling the weight of the situation press down on him. He never wanted it to come to this. All he wanted was the truth, the chance to walk away from the wreckage of his marriage. But now it's a fight for survival. Rachel's threats are no longer just words. They're a real, tangible threat to everything Jack has built. The next few days are a blur of legal battles, courtroom drama, and emotional exhaustion. Jack spends hours in meetings with Maggie, preparing for the inevitable war that's coming. Every move Rachel makes feels calculated, like she's one step ahead, always looking for a way to twist the truth and turn the situation in her favor. Jack tries to stay focused, but the emotional toll is immense. The truth, the knowledge of everything Rachel has done, the betrayal that cut him so deeply, keeps coming back to him in waves. Every time he thinks he's done with it, that it's over, something new hits him. He's learned that the hardest part of any fight isn't the physical confrontation. It's the mental battle, the games that people play to manipulate, to control, to tear someone down. Rachel's no longer just the woman he loved. She's become a force, a driving power that is relentlessly pushing him to the edge. And Jack? He's done being pushed around. He's not going to let her win. Not this time. Jack decides to take matters into his own hands. Enough waiting, enough playing by the rules. He knows what Rachel's capable of, and he's learned that the only way to beat her is to outplay her at her own game. He reaches out to his most trusted allies, people who know how to navigate the murky waters of legal loopholes and corporate warfare. Ethan, Jack says as he picks up the phone, I need your help. We're going after her. Ethan's voice is steady, but there's an edge to it. What are you thinking? I'm thinking we go on the offensive, Jack replies, his voice low but determined. I've got the evidence. Rachel's been hiding more than just an affair. We're going to expose everything. Her entire scheme. We're going to burn it all down. Ethan doesn't hesitate. I'm with you, man. We'll do whatever it takes. The next few days are a blur of strategy, planning, and meticulous preparation. Jack and Ethan work tirelessly, digging deeper into Rachel's web of lies and deceit. They uncover even more than Jack could have imagined. Bank accounts, offshore investments, and connections to a network of shady figures who've been helping Rachel cover her tracks. It's all connected, and it's all about money. Tim, Rachel, the businesses, they were all in it together. And Jack, for too long, was the unsuspecting fool. As Jack begins to piece together the full extent of Rachel's actions, the truth becomes clear. She wasn't just running from him. She was running from the consequences of what she'd done. And now, Jack's got the power to bring it all crashing down. He'll expose her lies. He'll take her down. The tension rises as Jack and Ethan prepare for the final confrontation. With the evidence they've gathered, they've got everything they need to take Rachel's entire operation down. But Jack knows this won't be easy. Rachel's powerful, connected, and willing to do whatever it takes to stay out of trouble. Jack's phone rings late one evening. It's Maggie again. "Jack, we've got a problem," she says, her voice strained. "Rachel's attorney just filed a motion to have all the evidence you've gathered thrown out. They're claiming it was obtained illegally, that it's inadmissible in court. This is getting ugly, and fast." Jack feels the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He's this close to bringing everything to light, to getting the truth out there. But now Rachel's trying to cover her tracks again. She's not going to let him win without a fight. And this time, she's pulling out all the stops. "I won't let her get away with this, Maggie," Jack says, his voice low with determination. "We've got to push harder. We can't let her keep playing these games." "You need to stay calm, Jack," Maggie replies. "We'll fight this. But you need to be ready for anything." The day of the court hearing arrives. Jack walks into the courtroom, his nerves on edge. He knows that this is the moment where everything changes, the final showdown. It's him against Rachel, the truth against the lies. It's a battle for his life, for his reputation, and for the justice he's been seeking. As Jack sits down, he sees Rachel across the room. She looks different now, more haggard, more desperate. Her once calm demeanor has been replaced with a nervous energy, and Jack can tell she's feeling the pressure. She knows the stakes. She knows this is her last chance to salvage anything from the wreckage she's caused. But Jack is ready. He's prepared for this moment. He has the evidence. He has the truth. And he's not backing down. The tension in the room is palpable as the hearing begins. Rachel's attorney makes his case, trying to paint Jack as the villain, the one who's been manipulating everything from the start. But Jack isn't intimidated. He's been through too much to be scared now. When it's his turn to speak, Jack rises, standing tall and resolute. He looks straight at the judge, then at Rachel, and with a steady voice, he begins to lay out the truth. The truth about the affair, the money laundering, the fake companies, the lies Rachel told. Every piece of evidence he's collected, every document he's uncovered, is presented before the court. It's all there, the web Rachel's been weaving for months, maybe years. And now there's no escaping it. The silence in the courtroom is deafening as Jack finishes. He knows this is the turning point, the moment when everything changes. Rachel's face pales as she listens, her facade cracking. There's nothing she can do now. The truth has been exposed, and the consequences are inevitable. As the court hearing progresses, Jack watches as Rachel's attorney scrambles to make his case. He can see the desperation in the lawyer's eyes, the way he's trying to find some loophole, some way to discredit the mountain of evidence Jack has laid out. The room feels charged with tension. Every word, every motion is a high-stakes play. Jack stands firm, his emotions controlled, his mind laser-focused on the task at hand. Rachel sits across from him, her expression unreadable, though Jack can sense the anger beneath the surface. She's always been good at keeping her cool, but now it's different. There's a crack in her armor. The truth is out, and it's too late for her to deny it. Jack's lawyer, Maggie, speaks up, systematically dismantling Rachel's defense, tearing apart the lies she's tried to weave for months. She's prepared for this moment. Jack's prepared for this moment. And for the first time, Rachel looks like she's losing control. Her hands, once steady, now tremble slightly as she shifts in her seat. The judge listens carefully, weighing the evidence with a thoughtful expression. Jack feels a flicker of hope in his chest. This could be it. This could be the moment where everything changes. The lies, the manipulation, the cheating. It's all coming to an end. But even as Jack allows himself to feel the slightest bit of relief, Rachel stands up abruptly. She interrupts the proceedings, her voice sharp, desperate. "This isn't what you think?" she exclaims, turning toward the judge. "I didn't do any of this on purpose. You don't understand, The courtroom falls silent. The tension rises again, a heavy weight in the air as everyone turns their attention to Rachel. Jack watches her with a mix of disbelief and frustration. She's still trying to twist the narrative, trying to make herself the victim. "I was just trying to survive." Rachel continues, her voice rising. "You don't know what it's like. Jack was so absorbed in his work, in his career. I needed more. I wanted to feel alive again, to feel wanted. I made mistakes, yes, but it wasn't all about the money. I wasn't trying to hurt him." The judge holds up his hand, signaling for silence. The room stays quiet, but Jack can feel his blood boiling. Rachel is still playing the same game. She's trying to manipulate the situation to gain sympathy. But this time, it's not going to work. Jack takes a deep breath, his eyes narrowing as he stands up to face the judge. His voice is steady, but his words cut through the tension in the room like a blade. "Your Honor, she's been manipulating me and everyone around her for months. This isn't just about feeling alive again. This is about greed, deceit, and betrayal. She's stolen from me, from everything I've worked for. And now she's trying to make it seem like it's all my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I trusted her. She chose to betray me." Rachel's face flushes red with anger, but she doesn't say anything. She knows Jack's right. Deep down, she knows this is the end. She can't twist the truth anymore. The judge looks at both of them for a long moment, his gaze calculating. Jack's heart pounds in his chest as he waits for the verdict. He's done everything he can. Now it's in the judge's hands. After careful consideration, the judge says, his voice calm and measured, "I've seen enough evidence to conclude that the claims against Mr. Turner are unfounded. The accusations of harassment and stalking are dismissed. However, given the circumstances of the financial mismanagement and the evidence of fraudulent activity, I'm ruling in favor of the divorce with a significant division of assets. Mr. Turner will retain ownership of the property, and Ms. Turner will be required to pay restitution for the funds taken from Mr. Turner's accounts." Jack exhales deeply, the weight of the decision settling on his shoulders. It's over. He's won. He's been vindicated. And yet, a part of him feels hollow. The battle is won, but the war has taken its toll. Rachel looks shattered. She stands there, unable to speak, her face pale as the reality of the judge's ruling sinks in. She's lost everything. The life she had, the money, the future she thought she could build, gone. But it's not Jack's fault. She did this to herself. She let her greed and selfishness dictate her actions. And now, there's no way to fix it. Jack walks out of the courtroom, his heart heavy with the knowledge that even though he's won, he's lost too. He's lost the person he thought he knew, the person he trusted more than anyone. He's lost his family, the life he thought he had. And no matter how much he tries to justify it, the pain still lingers. The next few weeks pass in a blur. Jack settles into a new routine. He focuses on his work, throwing himself into the projects that have always been his passion. But there's a void inside him, a space that once was filled with Rachel, with their life together. It's hard to shake the feeling of betrayal, even now that the truth has come to light. Rachel, meanwhile, fades into the background. She tries to rebuild her life, but the damage is done. Jack hears whispers of her struggles, how she's bounced from one job to the next, how she's been living in a small, run-down apartment. The life she once had is a distant memory now, replaced by a harsh reality that she never thought would come. But Jack doesn't feel satisfaction in her downfall. He knows she's suffering, and even though she deserves it, it doesn't bring him peace. He never wanted things to end like this. He never wanted to destroy her life, but she forced his hand. One day, Jack receives an email from Rachel. It's short, simple, and to the point. "I'm sorry, Jack. I ruined everything. I didn't know how to fix it. I was selfish. I'll always regret what I did to you. Jack stares at the screen, reading the words over and over again. There's no excuse for what Rachel did. No way to undo the damage. But in the back of his mind, a small part of him wonders if, deep down, she regrets it all. He doesn't respond. He's not sure he ever will. What's the point? There's nothing left to say. The damage has been done, and they're both living with the consequences. Jack's life slowly starts to feel normal again. He's in control. He's rebuilt his career, his confidence, his independence. He's moving forward. But he knows that everything he's built, everything he's accomplished, has come at a cost. It's a hard lesson, one he'll carry with him for the rest of his life. Trust is fragile. People are capable of more than you can ever imagine. One evening, as Jack sits in his new apartment, looking out over the city skyline, his phone buzzes. There's a message from Maggie. Just got word. Rachel's trying to make a comeback. She's involved in a new business venture. Be careful, Jack. She's back on the radar. Jack's lips curl into a small smile. It's almost laughable at this point. Rachel hasn't changed. She's still chasing the next big thing, still looking for ways to control, to manipulate. But Jack's no longer the man who was fooled by her. He's different now, wiser, stronger, and more aware of the game people play. As Jack leans back in his chair, he feels a sense of peace settle over him. The past is behind him, and whatever comes next, he'll face it head-on, just like he always has. As Jack sits in his apartment, the city lights flickering outside his window, he reflects on everything that's happened. The court case, Rachel's betrayal, the lies. Everything has led him to this moment of quiet, of resolution. He's come through it all, but not without cost. The scars from his marriage, the manipulation, and the deceit are still there, hidden just beneath the surface. They'll fade with time, but they'll never fully disappear. But Jack has learned something through all this. He's learned that the most important thing is to trust himself, to trust his instincts, his judgment. The lies Rachel spun around him may have shattered his world for a while, but in the end, he found a way to stand tall again. He didn't let her win. He didn't let her take everything from him. And most importantly, he didn't lose himself in the process. Weeks pass, and the dust from the courtroom battle finally settles. Rachel fades from Jack's life as expected. He doesn't hear from her again, save for that one email. She's gone, and Jack is left with the pieces of his life to put back together. The chaos, the emotional turmoil, and the constant fear of what might come next. It's all behind him now. But the resolution isn't just about Rachel disappearing. It's about Jack's own personal growth. He's not the same man he was when he first found out about the affair, when he first saw the cracks in his marriage. The anger, the betrayal, they don't define him anymore. Instead, he's become someone more grounded, more in control. He's learned that life can't be dictated by the actions of others. His future is his own to shape. Jack starts to see the world differently. He's not just going through the motions anymore. He begins to appreciate the little things, the calm moments, the small victories. His career is thriving, and he's reconnecting with the people who matter most to him. His friends, his colleagues, they've rallied around him, offering support, encouragement. And slowly, Jack is learning to trust again. Not just others, but himself. Months later, Jack gets a call from Ethan. The tone of his voice is light, almost joking. Jack, you're not going to believe this, but I think I found her. Jack laughs, shaking his head. Ethan, don't tell me you're tracking Rachel down now. No, nothing like that, Ethan replies. It's just, you know that new business Rachel was getting into? The one she tried to make a comeback with. Yeah. Well, it's already collapsing. She's in deep with some shady investors, and now she's scrambling to make it all work. Word is, she's in over her head and doesn't know how to get out. Jack pauses for a moment, feeling a strange sense of detachment. He should feel vindicated, maybe even satisfied. But instead, all he feels is indifference. It's not his problem anymore. He's moved on, and that chapter of his life is closed. Rachel's actions, her choices, they belong to her now. Jack's focus is on what comes next for him. Let her deal with it, Ethan, Jack says, his voice calm. I've got my own life to figure out. As time goes on, Jack finds himself in a place he never thought he'd be. Peaceful, content, and free of the baggage that once weighed him down. His days are filled with purpose, his career flourishing as he takes on bigger projects, and his personal life steadily improving. He's finally allowing himself to breathe again, to be present, without constantly worrying about the past or the future. Jack's journey has been one of transformation. From the painful revelations to the intense emotional highs and lows, he's learned what it truly means to take control of his own destiny. The person he was at the beginning of the story, vulnerable, uncertain, betrayed, is a far cry from the man he is now. He's stronger, wiser, and more aware of the value of trust, loyalty, and personal integrity. His relationship with his friends deepens. He makes time for the people who matter, offering his support where he once needed it. He's become a mentor to younger colleagues at work, guiding them with the same lessons he learned through his own struggles. The final moments of the story come as Jack walks into his office, ready to face the day. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting a warm glow across the skyline. As he steps to his desk, his phone buzzes with a new message. It's from Maggie, his lawyer. Rachel's filed for bankruptcy. She's completely out of options now. Jack reads the message, then sets the phone down with a sigh. He's not surprised. He knew the risks Rachel was taking. But even now, hearing it confirmed, Jack feels a strange sense of closure. Rachel's path has diverged so far from his own, and for the first time, he realizes that he no longer carries the weight of her choices with him. The door opens, and Ethan steps into the office, a grin on his face. "Ready to grab lunch, man?" Ethan asks, as if nothing in the world could be more important than this moment. Jack looks at him, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "Yeah, let's go." As they walk out of the office together, Jack feels a sense of finality wash over him. The last chapter is closed, and the future is his to shape. Before we wrap up, we want to take a moment to thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you've enjoyed the story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought about the twists and turns in today's video. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to check out our other content for more stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Thanks for being with us today, and we'll see you in the next one.